What I've placed on the counter there is a very promising rough black opal, but before I show you it, I'm going to make myself a coffee. Nowadays, I have them black, which means that my frontal lobe has finally fully developed. It still has that gorgeous crema on top, but hopefully that's not the only gorgeous thing in this video, and I'm not talking about myself. Here's the piece of rough opal. It's small but mighty. Clocking in at 2.135 carats, it's got a colour bar of a rich blue-green with great clarity of colour. There's even hints of orange coming in towards the end of the stone, so I'm hoping that comes through once the stone is cut. Now that we're at the cutting wheels, I'm taking off the excess potch from around the edge. I'm not cutting into the colour bar just yet, I'm just trimming off the excess waste material. The trouble we have with this piece of rough at the moment is that I can't see where the colour bar connects on the other side. So first things first is checking where they connect and cutting it in so I know where the full gem sits. It's a gentle process, but I'm starting to see the colour bar bend around the corners there, right next to that pesky sand spot. As you can see, the colour bar is starting to look like it's connecting on that side. I'm going to stop there and start trimming down the top to expose some of that colour. It doesn't take long before some of that orange is peeking through. It gets me excited. A bit of orange colour means the value of the gem goes up significantly, especially when it's a true orange with great clarity and good brightness. I'm being very gentle, I'm just touching the wheel little by little. I don't want to cut away any material that isn't necessary. The gem's already small, and I don't want to make it any smaller if I can possibly avoid it. There's one looming issue with this stone, and I'm sure you can all see it. That black potch that's creeping in from the side. Great colour, don't get me wrong, I'm very happy with it, but this potch, it's hard to tell whether it's coming up from the bottom or it's sat on top of the colour bar. So my plan is, I'm going to take it in a little bit more, see if we can get past that sand spot a little bit before I begin to roll over the edge, hoping that by rolling the stone a little bit on that side with the potch, I'm starting to make a bit of a cabochon whilst also removing some of that potch from the top. It's still unclear whether it's coming up from underneath, so I'm being very gentle. All at the same time, I'm starting to visualize the shape of the stone. That's why you see me sort of dotting around between the top and the sides, the top and the sides. It's not ADHD, it's just my way of working, whatever you want to call that. The potch from the top is starting to disappear just slightly, which gives me confidence that I can probably save some of the size of the gem here. The sand will always be an issue, and don't get me wrong, that fight is not over. But I've got a new plan. I'm going to trim down the back of the stone, start shaping it up a little bit, and rolling the back of the stone slightly. My plan is, basically, I need a bit more control on the stone. It's so small that with one little slip I can really ruin it. You can see the colour bar kind of dips down underneath the potch there, so it gives me confidence that there's some colour that I can save, and that's what I'm going to do. Now normally I wouldn't dop up a stone this early, but I have a good reason for it. It's going to give me a lot more control with the stone. Because it's so small, a dop stick's going to make it easier. And before anyone comments, no, the stone isn't on fire, that's just leftover dop that's stuck on my tweezers. Casual shot of me walking back into the workshop here. Check out the hoodie. There had to be a plug somewhere in the video, let's not lie to ourselves. Anyway, now that the stone's on a dop stick, it's going to be easier to manipulate, control, and move around the stone. I'm on the 400 grit wheel. There's two reasons for that. One, cutting process is way slower, which is what I need. Two, it leaves lighter scratches in the stone. If I was on the 120 grit wheel, it'd leave deeper scratches, which means the whole polishing process is going to be a lot slower, a lot longer, and more arduous. By being on the 400 grit, it starts that pre-polish already, whilst allowing me to shape the stone and start to perfect it. The first point of call is this black spot on the side. I want to see how much colour I can save. I keep checking the side of the stone to see if that colour bar is connecting and if I can remove that potch entirely. So I'm focusing it. I'm just rolling over that side to see how much of that colour I can save. On a closer look, there is some colour hiding underneath that potch, but there's two major issues. Using these tweezers here with the leftover dop that's stuck on them, you can see there's two sand spots, one in the side and one in the bottom, and it's creating a bit of a window in the stone. It's ruining that perfect look in inverted commas. So I have an idea. Basically make the stone smaller. If I cut off this side of the stone and just sort of roll it around, I'm gonna navigate those bits of sand. That black potch is gonna disappear, and then hopefully that colour from underneath can start to shine. So I'm moving back to a higher grit. Obviously I mentioned the fact of the scratches being an issue, but when it's in the side of the stone it's a lot easier. Besides, I'm shaping it now, so using the 400 grit wheel would just be an absolute nightmare. I can bring it in a lot closer before going back to the 400 grit wheel. I'm constantly wiping off the stone. That sort of muddy stuff you're seeing on the top is the wax from the dop stick making its way around the wheel and back onto the top of the stone and blinding me. It's making my job a pain. That's why I keep wiping the stone. But you can see that I'm rounding that edge. I'm sort of want to cut off those sand spots. It's going to be a freeform stone. It's pretty enough to remain freeform. And it's back to the 400 grit wheel, doing these final shapes, rounding off the edges nicely, so it's going to be somewhat perfect. Obviously it's not an oval or a round like some people like, it's a freeform, which is personally my favourite, and it's saving all of that colour. I'm keeping the stone as large as I can. I'm now rounding off the top, making a nice dome, and creating that setting edge. It's onto the 600 grit wheel, where I then begin to remove the scratches left behind by the previous one, and start to polish up the stone. It's got a nice kick of colour, this one. It's nice and bright. 4, maybe even a 5 out of 5 at this point. We're then onto the 1200 grit wheel, where the same again. We're removing those scratches and preparing it for that polish at the end. It's cerium oxide time, the most exciting time, seeing that final polish on the stone. For any opal cutters out there, make sure you're taking your time. It might take a little bit longer than you expect to get a really nice polish on your stone. And here it is. A beautiful 5 out of 5 brightness. Great clarity of colour with blues, greens, and even that orange that we saw when it was in its rough form. So yeah, we managed to save that nice bit of orange. It's got a great play of colour from all angles, and it's actually quite an exciting stone to look at. The sand spot at the top I decided to leave in a little bit because it doesn't compromise the stone too much, and when you set it in a bezel, it's going to hide that sand spot anyway, so it's keeping it that little bit larger without compromising it. The final weight is just over half a carat. I'm very happy with that. It started small and we saved a lot. If you've enjoyed the video, please like it, comment down below with your thoughts, and of course if you're not already, please subscribe. There's plenty of opal cutting content coming in the future. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you soon.